Hey there fellow creators, Ben here from Cinder Studios, and today we're talking about 5 tools you should probably stop buying at the art store. Stick around. So when it comes to certain supplies, there is notably a convenience that anytime you're wandering around your local Blick store, if you happen to have one, Hobby Lobby, something of that sorts, you might think, oh, I'm going to pick this up while I'm here. But that's not necessarily the most cost-effective thing to do. Chances are you can find a lot more effective tools just by popping down to your local hardware store. So the first tool you should probably stop buying at the art store is hanging or picture wire, stuff for wiring your canvases up. Now this might seem like one of those simple convenience things. The art store is going to sell you like a little spool of wire, probably something about this size, and a little plastic container. The problem with that is you're getting usually like anywhere from like 9 to maybe 20 feet of wire, and that's fine, but it's not the most cost-effective to do. It's going to run you, anywhere from like $5 to $10 for very little wire in the long run. Now, if you take that same idea, most hardware stores are going to sell hanging wire as well, and in a much bigger volume. I saw a particular 100-foot roll on Lowe's website for like $8. So it's the same price as the smaller spool, and you get so much more for your money. If you're willing to spend just a little bit more money, go the extra mile and get yourself a big giant spool. This was originally 1,500 feet of wire. Now this was given to me, but a little bit of online research, I found that you can find one of these for anywhere from like 35 to 40 bucks. Ish. I mean, chase the sales. I'm sure there's some variable in that price. But going from the little tiny spools you get at the art store, which end up being, $1 or $2 per individual foot, if we're talking, length and cost value, a big spool like this is like 3 cents per foot. This is a huge value, and one of these is going to last you bare minimum, probably like 5 or 10 years. This thing, for me, I've had this at least 6 or 7 years, and I think I've used at most maybe like 50 feet of it. Depending on your age, one of these might just last you for the rest of your life. Next up is a tool that, honestly, it's kind of hit and miss, I would say, especially in terms of price, but that is plaster of Paris. Now, the art store does have plaster of Paris, but so does any other store that sells any kind of construction supplies or art supplies, or like go to Walmart, pick yourself up a bag of plaster of Paris. It's probably going to be a few dollars cheaper than the art store. And if you're really feeling like you're going to do a lot of sculptural and casting work, you can get a big 25-pound bag of plaster of Paris for like 20 bucks. That's a no-brainer. The third thing you should probably stop buying at the art store is brush cleaner. Now, I know this can be a really divisive topic among artists, but there's a lot of different brush cleaners out there. A lot of people swear by this little round one that Blick sells a lot. I've never really felt it was worth buying a special fancy brush cleaner, especially considering how many brushes I end up buying. Especially when there's a lot better, cheaper, I don't know about better, but equal alternatives out there. As long as you don't think of them as brush cleaner. They're not going to be labeled as brush cleaner. They might be labeled as a different type of soap. Now, my go-to soap in the studio is some Fells Naphtha. This is a bar laundry detergent made by the Purex detergent company. A bar of this is $2, and it will last you for years. I think I've only ever replaced my painting bar twice in the past 15 years. One of these bars will last a very long time, and because it is a soap designed for cloth and conditioning cloth and washing that, it's going to work really well on both natural hair and synthetic brushes to keep those bristles soft or stiff, respectively. Number 4 is more of a category of tools rather than one specific tool, and that is clay tools, with one exception, and that is a metal needle tool. Needle tools are super cheap. Get one of these at the art store, and you've got one for a while. They tend to last a really, really long time, unless you sit it with water in it, and it's probably going to rust. But one of these you can still buy that at the art store. Everything else, however, is replaceable with a much cheaper alternative. Let's start simple. Wooden dowel rods. You can sharpen them down to a point for a similar needle tool aesthetic. Dowel rods are also come in all kinds of different sizes and definitely lengths. If you really mess with them enough, you can get ones that are just a little bit thicker. Use that as your clay rolling pin. Now, if you took the tip to get yourself some high capacity picture wire, this is going to be really easy to create a clay wire cutting tool with. I've never bought one of these. I've always only made my own. And take your dowel rods, make sure they're a comfortable length to fit in your hand. Put some wire on that, tap a little hot glue on the ends, and you've got yourself a perfect clay cutting tool. The other great thing about making your own for one of these is you can make it at any length. The ones you buy in the store are going to be very specific lengths. This, you can make it your own size to fit your own needs. Another common clay tool is this little wire loopy tool, and you might think, okay, there's no way you can just replace that with something else. You'd be surprised on that one. Zip ties are literally one step away from being a perfect wire loop tool. Turn it into a loop, adjust it for size. If you're really feeling fancy, attach it to the dowel rod, and now you've got yourself a replacement loop tool. And the last clay tool that I think a lot of people will be like, this is not replaceable with anything else, again, you'd be surprised, are the little, some people have wood ones, some people have little silicone rubber ones, but it's just like a little round tool for smoothing edges and everything like that. You're like, okay, I have to get that at the art store, right? Even though they're like $12. I've seen them as cheap as $5. I've seen them as expensive as like $15. Not necessarily. Go to your local dollar store and get a spatula, and then just yank the handle off, and now you've got your little rubber shaper tool. It's not complicated. You just got to think outside the box a little. And the final art tool that you should probably stop buying at the art store is masking fluid. If you're a fan of watercolors or working in layered wet media, you're probably familiar with a little bottle of masking fluid. It's probably going to run you about $10 or $12. The problem with that is masking fluid is just liquid latex, which you can buy at a much higher volume literally anywhere that sells either sculptural supplies, so like not big box art store, maybe go down to like a Michael's or a Hobby Lobby. But then you can also probably find this at Walmart under a very different name. A lot of times you're going to see, like this stuff is called Mold Builder. But it's just a casting latex. But around, at least in the United States, around Halloween in October, there's big like Spirit Halloween stores open up, and they sell liquid latex in big jugs. And it's the exact same stuff that you'd get at the art store in the tiny little bottle for $12, where you can just get a big jug of it for like $15. Now, I don't expect you to be using that much masking fluid, but again, per volume and getting something cheaper that's going to last you a lot longer, that's just a really easy thing to do. So that's just a quick look at 5 art supplies and some alternative to those art supplies that you can find in other stores, as well as just sort of DIY and make your own version of. There's a lot of different things you can do to save yourself money as an artist, and this is definitely one of those ones where it's like, do you need to get the $12 spool of picture wire at your local art store when you can get 100 feet of it for the same price at your local hardware store? No, probably not. I can understand convenience shopping, but artists need to be able to cut corners a little bit and save money. There's no point in just buying everything at the art store if you just don't have to. So that's going to do it for this week's video. If you learned something or enjoyed hearing me talk about all this stuff, go ahead and hit the like button. Let me know your thoughts and comments below, especially regarding anything that I might have missed here. Like, is there anything that you're like, oh yeah, I don't buy that at the art store, it's much cheaper somewhere else? Let me know what those are too. For more on this topic, check out my 5 household objects that you can use for art supplies and 5 hardware store objects that you can use for art supplies. Continuing a little bit in this series of sort of thrifting your way through your creative journey. That's going to do it for me, though. Thanks, guys, for watching. Get subscribed if you're not already. And this has been from Cinder Studios, reminding you to keep on creating, and I will see you guys next time.